Yo, what's up? In this video we are gonna take a look at the Occultist Winter Orb character that was very popular the first time Maven and the Atlas passive points was introduced. I don't remember the league, a couple of leagues ago, alright? It was very popular because of Legion farming, and after that Legion farming actually got nerfed, so people thought that that farm is actually dead. But no, it isn't. I just checked it in Scourge League, so go and check that video if you want to farm some currency while farming Legions, if that is something that you are looking for. Because right now there is a Delve event, and also there are more upcoming events, and in my opinion most of them are very boring. You will probably level a couple of characters maybe and then stop playing those events. So if that is what you are gonna do, if you are looking for some fun builds in Scourge League to spend some time, here is a fun one. And you can also do maybe Legion farming or just Nemesis Beyond, those kind of good map farming to farm good currency, maybe for your main build to finish that a couple of hundred exalt worth of builds, alright? So Winter Orb Occultist. So unfortunately Winter Orb is not a good boss killer with low investment, because the skill itself got nerfed super hard years ago, because it was broken actually the first time they introduced that. So that's why I highly recommend you to play this build as mapper with this state. So the budget we are looking for is around 20, maybe 30 exalt. I tried to keep this build cheap as possible and still just annihilates, the maps, the legions. And you can also farm again Nemesis Beyond. We are using 2 Inspired Learning, so the character is like actually using a mini Headhunter maybe. Inspired Learnings are right now 2 exalt, which is dirt cheap, so that will cost you 4 exalt. And if you already know, Legion encounters actually have maybe like 20 rare monsters, and you can just steal their modifiers twice once you are unlocking the Legion. And after that you are also killing those, and you can again get the stacks back. So that means that you will pretty much notice those big stacks thanks to using 2 Inspired Learnings. The character is Occultist. The biggest reason is probably, let's just check, Forbidden Power, area of effect and damage per power charge. This is a power charge stack build using the cheapest and the most powerful option for this kind of builds. Void, Battery, Wand. These are right now super cheap. The Scourge modifiers also got some spell damage, cold damage, elemental damage, maybe even triple damage. I just picked some spell damage, those kind of stuff, for less than an exalt each. So you can also invest in those if you want. Maybe there are even better Scourge modifiers. I haven't checked all of them. So these are fairly cheap weapons, so try to get some maybe corrupted ones or Scourge ones, alright? To even get more DPS. And the other reason is Profane Bloom. First enemies you or your minions kill have 40% chance to explode. So that's why you can also have a better clear with AoE stacking, Herald of Ice explosions plus Profane Bloom's explosion. And so playing an Occultist is very good for mapping. You can also play Assassin actually, but you won't have any explosion. Or you can maybe use Asenat Glows or Explode. I'm not sure, you can figure that out on your own if you want, if you know what you are doing. But we are taking a look at the Witch character. So the core items that you want are obviously Void Batteries. A Badge of Brotherhood, right now 50 chaos, ridiculously cheap. So this amulet is super powerful because it actually, where's that? Your maximum frenzy charges is equal to your maximum power charges. So if you actually, let's say I have 10 power charges, my maximum power charges are 10 right now, alright, with my with the same gear. If you can also achieve that. So if I can generate 10 power charges, it also means that I can generate 10 frenzy charges without even investing in any maximum frenzy charges on my items or talent tree. But it doesn't say that you generate power charges and frenzy charges at the same time. This doesn't mean that. So this means that you also need to generate frenzy charges somehow. So that's why the next item is gonna be about that. A Hunter plus Redeemer influenced body armor. The best one is probably Vaal Regalia, because this build uses Inner Shield and Life at the same time to achieve some decent effective HP. So on Redeemer bases you can get Frenzy Charge on hit, and on Hunter bases you can get Spell Crit Strike chance. You can use Awaken Orb to combine the both and get a good chest. The other good stats are obviously gonna be Life, maybe Maximum Life, if you bother doing Aisling craft from Katarina. And also Maximum Life as extra ES. You can just craft that on the bench if you want. You can also use Harvest Craft to block suffixes, and also use Caster, Reforged Caster on Harvest to get apply additional curse, which is not needed for mapping, but you can also do that. So these are going to be your example chests. So you want to generate frenzy charges and also get some spell crit strike chance to achieve high crit strike chance. We are not even using any Battle Fate or those kind of expensive stuff. And my character right now has 98%, almost 100% crit strike chance. So this kind of chest is very important if you want to achieve that almost 100% crit strike chance. Rest of the items. So these were the core items, alright. The other items are going to be mostly rares. Because we can obviously apply curse, a cheaper option is an Hand of High Templar with Elemental Weakness curse. You can also get a rare ring if you think that is cheaper. But on Hand of High Templar you can get Elemental Weakness plus something else. I again picked Spell Crit. It was like 4 Exalt once I bought it, but it will probably have a higher price after the video is out. So I actually do not recommend you to get a Hand of High Templar because we are using 2 rare rings. Just go and put curse on your rings, alright? It's gonna be way cheaper. But if you want to spend more, obviously go for a Hands of High Templar. If you do that, if you put curse on your rings, you can get a rare gloves with Alva's Temple modifier, damage against shield enemies. That's a rare gloves and it's gonna be super cheap. Also try to get life and resistances. This build also needs dexterity. So if you are using a rare gloves or obviously your rings are gonna be rare, you must put dexterity on those. So your rings, again, put any curse that you want. If your curse limit is 1, Elemental Weakness or Frostbite. If your curse limit is 2, if your chest also provides that, you can also put Frostbite on the other ring. So a Frostbite plus Elemental Weakness in the end. And finally, because it's a projectile build, Winter Orb is a projectile spell, you can also use Sniper Mark, but you cannot put it on the rings because that modifier doesn't exist. So you must cast that by using Arcanist Brand plus Sniper Mark. I also use a Frost Bomb, so that's a boss setup, alright, a boss DPS setup. So if you have a third curse limit, you can also do that to Legion bosses or Maps bosses to have some good DPS. You can also get the third curse on the Talent Tree for only like 3 points, because the Talent Tree is already there. So just get Whisper of Doom and you will have 3 curse total if your body armor also has that. If you have 2 curse limit, again, maybe use 2 curses on your rings and do not bother with Sniper Mark. But if you want to bother using Arcanist Brand on those bosses, which I highly recommend because Sniper Mark is actually better, so your curse choices should be Sniper Mark plus something, Elemental Weakness or Frostbite, and put that on a ring or Hands of High Templar, alright? Simple as that. Other good stats on rings are obviously dexterity, life, resistances, and also on Redeemer bases you have cold damage per frenzy charge or cold damage to shield and frozen enemies, something like that. It also exists on Shaper bases, I believe, so try to get those cold damage bonuses to have some better DPS. One important thing is one of your rings must have an open prefix, so you must craft channel skills have -3 mana cost to have some lower mana cost. You can even craft both of them, 2 of them on both of your rings to have even less mana cost. Right now I have 2 mana cost on my Winter Orb and my regeneration just covers that up, so I'm not using any mana flask. But you can maybe go for 0 mana cost and reserve even more mana, maybe, I'm not sure. But don't forget that if you are using an Arcanist Brand setup for Sniper Mark curse, those kind of stuff, they actually trigger, they are trigger skills, so they actually consume mana. So you must have some mana left, otherwise those trigger skills do not work. So most people forget that, and I always get questions on my Discord, why aren't my curses getting triggered, or maybe you are using a Casfand Mistaken Immortal Call, which I am also using in this build, but that actually requires like 50 mana. So if you have lower than 50 mana, they won't work, alright? So in the end, you must have some decent mana left, even though your Winter Orb maybe doesn't consume anything, but you want some mana left for those trigger skills. Finally, a belt and a helmet. So a belt STG wise is better for socket, so you can get even more life and DPS, maybe crit multiplier, maybe those kind of stuff. For the belt itself, if you need any strength, go for that. Life, resistances, and maybe inner shield, because this build uses both inner shield and life. So these are super cheap, maybe like 1 exalt, a good belt right now, you know. I bought this for like 1.5 exalt, I believe. And finally, a helmet. So for the base type, the cheapest one is right now Hubris Circlet, because you will want Winter Orb plus 2 stages for some good DPS. That's the best in slot enchant. Your helmet must be at least 85 item level. That's why Hubris Circlets are super cheap. If you have a higher budget, you can get a Blizzard Crown, which is like 10 exalt at least. We don't want that if we want a cheaper boss killer, not boss killer, mapper build, alright? So get a Hubris Circlet, it was like 50 chaos, the base type. After that, use Redeemer Orb on that, because we want Redeemer Influence on an, again, at least 85 item level to get nearby enemies have -9 cold resistances. So once you use the Redeemer Orb, if you didn't get the nearby enemies -9 cold resist, start using Frigid Fossils on a single socket Resonator. And just spam until you hit that -9 cold resist, and make sure that you didn't get any other Redeemer modifier. Just hold your Alt button on the keyboard. Make sure that you have the advanced modifier option ticked, you know, in your what is that, settings, alright, in the Path of Exile settings, so that way you can actually see the modifiers, names, those kind of details once you press and hold Alt button. Most people still don't know that, maybe if you are a new player. So make sure that the only Redeemer tag modifier is that nearby enemies have -9 cold resistance. After that, you will need another helmet with Warlord base that has maximum power charges. Again, the only modifier for Warlord must be maximum power charges, because if there are 2 modifiers, once you are using Awakener Orb, that can actually mess things up. So on a random helmet, it doesn't have to be an Hubris Circlet, it doesn't have to have any enchant at all. So a random helmet with a power charge modifier, and use Awakener Orb, click on that power charge helmet, then click nearby enemies have -9 cold resist, Winter Orb enchanted helmet for the last, and bam, 2 helmets actually gets, you know, fusion whatever together, and you will have a helmet like this in the end. So this is your helmet. Not that expensive, costs around maybe 4 or maybe 5 exalt to do that. You can do the helmet for the last, you know, because your core items must be a good Val Regalia and the other stats. You can maybe use a Winter Orb enchanted Hubris and do that craft later on. And that's pretty much it. I am also using only 1 large cluster, which is cheap. It is not a meta cluster. Just check my Path of Building. 2 medium clusters. I will also maybe put another examples if anything happens to the market. So you should in the end should finish this build around 20, maybe 30 exalt with the inspired learnings also, and the cheap Watcher's Eye, which is like 1 exalt. And that's gonna be pretty much it. A very fun mapper character that can easily farm Legion without a problem, or maybe Nemesis Beyond, so you can farm some good currency, and a very fun build indeed. So maybe later on in this league, because I haven't seen anyone doing that recently, I might do a boss killer Winter Orb, but I'm not sure how that's gonna work. If, you know, I feel like it, I might try it later on, but let's see, I'm not sure. Let me know if you want me to try that. Just join my Discord, maybe give me some suggestions. I might consider that. I might also share more Legion farming builds this week, so stay tuned for those maybe. And obviously, if you need any boss killer, just check my channel because I have dozens of those. Thanks for watching, don't forget to subscribe and like. Maybe consider becoming a Patreon member if you want to support my channel, or even go for bigger packages if you want my personal assistance in your builds. And I will see you later, bye bye.